All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to TSS on this not so cold Sunday of January. Today, we're going to have our public lecture given by our friend Raphael. The theme will be prayer and divine communion. But before we start, we're going to start with our initial reading from the book Happy Life by the spirit of Joana de Angelis and psychography of Divaldo Pereira Franco. As you encounter problems on your path and the rough tests of evolution, take refuge in a prayer of belief in God, which will keep you from falling into the abyss of rebelliousness. A little inner silence and concentration, your soul in a supplicating posture and open to inspiration. These are the conditions needed to let the pacifying divine response come. Make the climate of prayer a habit, and you will be in perennial communion with God, strengthened for the challenges along the way. And with that, I invite you all to close our eyes and elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus and to our spiritual friends certainly present in this house. And let us thank for this opportunity of being gathered here today with the purpose of learning and reflecting on the teachings of God and the teachings of Jesus. May the good spirits and mentors of this house guide our friend Raphael in the lecture that he'll be leading today, and may our blessings spread through this house and throughout the world. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Be with us, and so be it.
Did I move the camera? Thank you, Charlie. Still good? Good morning, everybody. So, the title of our lecture today, or presentation in our conversation, is Prayer and Divine Communion. So I wanted to speak a little bit about this again on another year, because the topic of prayer is very extensive, and is very hard for us to conclude in one lecture. I feel that we cannot conclude even in a lifetime. Because as we saw in the book of from Joana de Angelis, prayer is essential for us to achieve, or to strive to achieve, communion with God, a divine communion. But I do want to dig a little deeper to help us understand the importance of prayer. And we can start by thinking that if we can't agree on anything else, all religions can agree that prayer is essential. All religions pray in their own way. We all seek divine communion. That's the core of every religion, is to try to satiate this hunger. The director of the Human Genome Project, Francis Collins, that he studied our DNA, he led a team of scientists, international scientists, for 10 years. And in the beginning of the 2000s, he wrote a book, The Language of God. So he became deeply religious. And he, in his book, he brings a very interesting arguments for the existence of God. How can we in whatever way we perceive God. And one of them is we hunger for food because there is such a thing as food. We thirst for water. Our body seeks water because there is such a thing as water. And we hunger for divine communion because there is such a thing as the divine. We are still in the very early stages to try to define what it is. We all have our own ways, and it's always more complicated than what we say. We call different names, God or Allah or Brahma. And we look at the name, but when we say it, inside of our head, it means so much more than that, but we can't express it. It's very difficult to express it. What we know is that since the very, very early ages of civilization, we have been praying. We have been seeking this communion, to satiate this hunger through chanting, dancing, meditation, spoken formulas, and offerings. We try according to the level of understanding that we have, that our intellect allows us. All we know is that we need to satiate this. We feel this hunger, and we try to do something. In the same book, Happy Life, Joana de Angelis tells us, a calm attitude is a sign of self-realization, which you will achieve only through prayer, patience, and meditation. She says that several times, and she says that again in the chapter that Thiago just read to us. And then we start thinking, who is Joana de Angelis? In the Spiritist literature, we can read about her incarnations. But more importantly, that her history on Earth is what we can perceive from her books. The wisdom and love that this spirit has towards us, and how much her words help and console us. So when she tells us that we cannot reach self-realization without prayer, we must listen. We must take that to heart and try to understand what is she trying to tell us. And then we remember the example of Jesus, and he was always praying. When he lived with his friends, the apostles, and since most of them, they were fishermen, they would wake up early to go and fish because they needed to take the fish to the market and sell. And when they woke up, he was already coming back from his prayer. So he was Jesus Christ, so a pure spirit. He was already in perennial, as Joana de Angelis called, communication with God. And he was still praying all the time. So the act of prayer, it's completely connected to the nature of being a human being. It has been with us since the moment we woke up to the human nature. When we acquire the continuous thought that we have today, prayer became an intuition, something that we know we have to do. What we have been doing all this time is try to bring our intellect to understand the best way to pray, to study ourselves, to improve our prayer, to improve our communication. And before I continue, I want to talk a little about self-realization, since Joanna Gentile says that we will never find self-realization without prayer. Okay, then we know we need to pray. But what does she mean by self-realization? And as most of these type of questions, I feel that we can answer that by studying ourselves. So that's most of what we should do with the time that we have here on earth, with this incarnation, which is, it's a blessing. It's another chance that we have to live another life here, to wear another vest within our one immortal life. So it's very important for us to try to understand ourselves, to study ourselves and see our behavior. And in doing that, I ask myself, what bothers us the most in our life here? So I'm sure that we can all create a list of things that bothers us. We can all do that. It's very hard to go through one day without something happening that bothers us. Of course, that's very subjective, and it could be depending on our mood, the way we wake up. But there is one thing that supersedes all others. Something that we cannot run away from. Even though we do try. We do try, but we cannot run away from. It hurts more than slip disc pressing against sciatic nerve. Believe me, because I know what that means. So I was looking at the list of the worst pains that a human being can feel. And then we have there slip disc and sciatic nerve. Of course, there's giving birth. So I tell you guys that gave birth, well done. Because if it hurts more than slip disc, you guys are very courageous. But what I'm talking about is it hurts even more than all this, all that list together. And then you can think, what can hurt more than all that? All this pain, it's from our body. So it's a response of our body. It's the intensity of an electric signal going through to our brain and telling us that something is wrong. And the degree of pain is the intensity, it's directly proportional to the intensity of the electric signal, which in turn is directly proportional to the degree of damage. So this is a feedback from our body telling that there's something wrong. If I don't feel pain in my foot, I will not know that it's broken. So there is a disease, a syndrome of people that feel no pain. And normally, so they go through life and they feel no pain. They hurt themselves, but they don't feel pain. And they don't survive. It's very hard for them to live a long life. They don't survive much because they don't have feedback. They don't have the feedback. So the pain that I'm talking about, it comes from the inside. It doesn't come from the outside that goes away, it heals. It comes from the inside. It's the pain of a guilty conscience. Because this pain is the one that you cannot run away from. It hurts so much that it moves us. It gives us the urgency to do something to fix it. I dare say that most of us are incarnated here today because we want to get rid of that pain. We ask to come back here instead of staying there and listening to music in the colonies, because the pain of remorse doesn't let us, doesn't allow us to be in peace, doesn't give us self-realization, and it doesn't go away. It's not like a pain in the body that we feel it, but it goes away, it heals. I'm here right now and not feeling my back. This is awesome. but it healed. It went away. But the pain of remorse doesn't go away. It is from the inside. It comes from our conscience. We can hide ourselves from remorse by saying, no, but to justify our actions. I did that because somebody else did something else to me. And we create all these shields to protect, because we know if we let it in, it hurts. It will hurt. So we try to protect ourselves. But the law of God, the law of nature wants us to grow, wants us to fix that, wants us to be happy. So remorse, the conscience, it catches up. In the end, it catches up to us. And when it does, we have to fix it. Have you guys ever felt that feeling that I need to apologize? I need to apologize to that person. If I don't, it's nagging me, it's eating me from the inside. It's banging against something inside of me. I need to go there and apologize. Why? Because I made that person suffer. My words, my actions made that person suffer. When we read the books of André Luiz, there are many situations, even we experiment here in TSS as well. We receive spirits that are very hardened, and they come with all this pride and all this anger. And then the spirits that talk to them with skill, they start looking, because if a spirit that has that amount of anger, that amount of pride and selfishness, is a spirit that is suffering. The remorse is there trying to come out. Why? Because it's the law of God wants us to grow. It's pushing us to grow. It's the law of spiritual evolution. So we can know for sure that the remorse is there. That the conscience is telling that person that what they are doing is wrong. And again, we know that because we can study ourselves. We know that. We know. Deep inside, we know. Whatever we tell other people, it doesn't matter. But deep inside, we know. And then when finally that spirit can no longer hold on, they crash down, they start crying. They crumble emotionally. Not just spirits on the mediumship meeting. It could happen to us while incarnated on a fraternal meeting, when we're talking to someone in a fraternal meeting. It can happen to us when we are doing therapy. And it has nothing to do with the power of the other person, the other spirit, in humbling us. No, it's not that. All those professionals, they know that all this is already inside of us. They just help us to see it. Because if we don't see it, we don't move on. And this is all because we have a conscience that it's always connected to the divine. So it's like there's a part of us that is always connected to God, because we were created by God. Whatever definition we have for God, whatever definition, which one day perhaps we'll be able to define in a much better way. So we were created by God. So we already have this conscience. And when it hurts, it's telling us that we are going against our own nature. And at the same time that it hurts, it also tells us to pray. That's why we have been praying since the very beginning of civilization. It's the same conscience telling us what to do. When we the same example of those spirits that they start crying, the crying is just, it's the pain of remorse that comes out, and it's a healing moment. It's a healing moment. Finally, those spirits or ourselves, we acknowledge that problem inside of us. We acknowledge that spiritual wound. So then we can start healing. So then it comes the other side. We cannot dwell in the remorse. We cannot just stay there feeling remorse. We have to do something to fix it. Okay, you felt the remorse. You know that there's something wrong. Now you have to start working to fix that, to repair it. And at the time of Jesus, when Jesus was talking to people, it was very common in the Gospels. We see that people, they are drove to tears in the same way. And then erroneously, we think that this is because of the glory of God, the glory of Jesus, is the superior spirit. That's not Jesus. That's, again, it's not because of his superiority is humbling us. So we feel small and we cry. No, that's not it. That's not him. When we get close to Spirit Jesus, we feel immensely loved. We feel that it's okay to talk to this Spirit. It's okay to open up all my shields and to show myself in the most raw way, because I am loved. It's okay to feel guilty. It's okay to open up and acknowledge my mistakes, because I know I'm not going to be judged. I will not be judged. I will be helped. So that is the feeling. So that's what superior and pure spirits make us feel, that we are unconditionally loved, not that we're going to be judged. And that's what makes us breathe and open. And I dare say again, we feel a little bit of that every time we come here. We feel that we can open our hearts a little bit. Nobody's going to judge us. And sometimes that a little bit of emotion comes out, because it's such a relief. It's such a relief. But I'm telling all this because I wanted to talk about self-realization. And the self-realization, in my mind, we can measure somewhat by how comfortable we are sitting by ourselves alone in silence with our thoughts. How comfortable do you feel? So that can tell you a little bit more about self-realization. If you are satisfied with yourself, when it's you and your conscience, how do you feel? How many times do we run away from that? If I'm going to sit down by myself, I'm going to put headsets. I'm going to turn on the radio. I'm going to watch TV. Or if I have to sleep, I'm going to take a sleeping pill. Unfortunately, in our society today, we always have an entertaining device in our pockets. So we are rarely alone with our thoughts, and we cannot measure our self-realization. We cannot measure how satisfied or not we are with ourselves. So this means that hunger that we all feel, we don't pay attention to it. And it starts bothering us and we don't even know it. So this degree of realization, of satisfaction, which is completely decoupled from material assets, from money, house, cars, clothes. It's completely decoupled. You can have a person that has everything, but doesn't have a conscience that they can feel comfortable with, and that makes them suffer. So that they are constantly moving, they never stop. And you can have someone that doesn't have anything, doesn't even have a cell phone, so there's nothing to listen to, so it's always in silence. And it's okay, I'm comfortable, I'm not doing anything wrong to anybody, my conscience is clean. So who is the happiest person? And Joana de Anjos tells us we cannot reach that state without prayer. We need to make prayer a habit. But what does it mean to pray? We know that we do pray. Do we need ceremonies? Do we need words? Do we need special clothes? Yes and no. When you guys come here, you see that every time we do the same thing. We have a protocol. We could say that that's a ceremony. However, sometimes we change. It's not something that we do because it's tradition. It's something that we do because we sit down in a meeting and we decide how we're going to do this. And we decide what we're going to do, and we do all the time. And words. Do we need to use words? When I was thinking about that, I realized something. I've been studying Spiritism for 3 decades, and I've been doing this Sunday lecture for 10 years. February will complete 10 years. And I saw that because I can go back on YouTube and I say, okay, what is the first video ever from me at TSS? Like 20 pounds lighter, it is completely different. And it's 2015, February 2015. And in all this time, every time I have to do a presentation, I never feel ready for it. It's not like teaching a class on electromagnetism. I study, I see the facts, I know the facts, I'm coming out of the lab, so this is how you calculate. It's not that. How do I talk about prayer? How do I talk about love? And then very early, I realized you can't. I can't. I don't have that capacity. I have to pray for inspiration because I won't be there by myself. I will be with my companion by my side, inspiring me. So every time what I do, and that is deeply rewarding because it removes, of course, I have to study, I read a lot, but I don't have to do it by myself. I don't. None of us have to. And it removes a great weight. Didn't Jesus tell us that if we follow him, the load is light? Didn't he tell us that? Didn't he tell us that if you are united in my name, I'll be there with you? He told us that. So we don't have to do it alone. So before I come here, I choose a whole bunch of books, sit in front of a computer, and I pray. And I wait, because I never know what I'm going to write. And then it starts coming. But I use words. When I pray to myself, I use words aloud. Why? because words help my thoughts to be organized. It's like when you are studying and you have to write on a piece of paper, because it helps organize your thoughts. The thoughts are what's important for prayer, nothing else. But due to our lack of discipline in our thoughts that go everywhere, to say words out loud and listen to your own words, it creates an effect of organizing your thoughts and help us to concentrate and to, at that moment, achieve divine communion. So that's why I said yes and no. So the words, they mean nothing for the mechanism of thought to connect to the divine, to other spirits. It's the thought that it connects. The words are for us. They are for us. In the same way that some spirits, they need ceremony because it puts them in the right mood. Sometimes dressed in a proper way, it helps us or them to set their mind to that task. So that's why we should always respect the way the different spirits exercise their prayer. In the end, if we continue this habit, meditation and prayer, our thoughts, they become more disciplined, more concentrated. We start seeing that we can concentrate better. And perhaps we can pray without using words. We just direct our thoughts. And one day, we will be in permanent prayer. Permanent prayer. Or as Jonas de Angelis says, perennial prayer. On that day, we'll be in perfect communion with God. What does it mean? That little part of us that is always connected to God, it spreads to the whole of us. And everything that comes out of our mouths, every thought, every action, it's according to the laws of God. Law of charity, law of love, law of society, law of worship, law of progress, all of them. We are not there yet. We are not there yet. Prayer for us is still a habit that we must train and acquire. But we came a long way. We came a long way. When I was researching for this lecture, I remember King David from the Bible and the Psalms that he wrote. And I wanted to read some, because these Psalms are prayers to God. And they bring to us how was it that at that time they thought prayer should be, and what they were seeking with prayer. So we see on Psalm 3. Let me just see if this is the one that I have. Psalm 6, the first one. So this is David praying to God, but complaining. So he says, O Lord, rebuke me not in thine anger, neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are vexed. My soul is also sore vexed. But thou, O Lord, for how long? Return, O Lord, deliver my soul. Save me for thy mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of thee. In the grave, who shall give thee thanks? So he's saying, for how long should I suffer? If you don't save me and I die, I won't be able to pray to thank you. I am weary with my groaning. All night make my bed to swim. I water my couch with my tears. My eye is consumed because of grief. It waxed old because of all my enemies. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity, for the Lord hath heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord hath heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all my enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. Let them return and be ashamed suddenly. So he's telling the Lord that he's feeling bad because of his enemies. And he's asking the Lord to favor him and not the enemies. And he says that many times here. But he also prays for faith and for strength. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies and my foes, come upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though an host should encamp against me, my heart should not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. So we could have told him, why do you make so many enemies in the first place? So this is the way that they understood at that time. God is a heavenly king. And they complain to God, to complain to this king, why don't you help me more? Why don't you help me conquer my enemies? Sometimes we still do this type of prayer. And we forget that above all things are the laws of God, and they are unbreakable. Laws of God are unbreakable. I was thinking on an example to bring this in a very clear way. So let's say that I'm feeling very depressed and I'm at the edge of a building and I'm thinking about jumping. And I pray. I will connect through prayer with spirits that want to help me. The similar connects to similar. I'm asking for help. And I am unconditionally loved, all of us. So there will be pure spirits that will go there, or family members, and try to dissuade me. Not to prevent it, because we are also spirits and we have our free will. But they will try to talk to my own conscience, to strengthen my moral compass that tells me that that is wrong. But since I have my free will and I decide to jump, and I jump. And mid-air, I pray. I pray to God that when I reach the ground, I don't get hurt. That's not going to happen. Because that's the law of God that says that if I hit the ground, I'll get hurt. We can pray for inspiration so that our actions have good consequences. But after we act, we cannot pray for the consequence not to come, because the laws of God are unbreakable. The consequence will come. What can I pray for? Since we are unconditionally loved, there's no condition. The fact that I jumped the building and I'm going towards the floor, the ground, doesn't mean that I'm no longer loved. Oh, you jumped now, you've forgotten, so you are on your own. It doesn't matter. I can pray for strength, to be strong enough that when the consequence comes, I can learn from it. I can be strong enough not to rebel, to learn from it, so that next time I don't do it again. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, there are many. There's a chapter. It's a very interesting chapter, chapter 27, that talks only about prayers. It's a very extensive chapter. And there's one paragraph that I think is very interesting, and we forget about it so many times. And the Spirit tells us this: it is not the evil that good spirits divert from us, but instead they divert us from the thought that could cause the evil. They do not in any way contravene the decrees of God, nor do they suspend the course of the laws of nature. Rather, it is we ourselves whom they keep from infringing these laws by guiding our free will. So when we pray, and we think that if we ask for a spirit or for God to heal us or to change something in our lives, it's something that it happens like this. If it doesn't happen, God didn't hear me. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. Because God is not thinking on that moment of your immortal life. God is thinking on the entirety of your immortal life. And is thinking way ahead. And God knows what is the best route for you to follow. Sometimes we ask for a particular door to open for us in this incarnation. I want that job, I want to study this, I want to do this, I want to do that. But that door, if it opens, it's not lead us on the best route to our happiness. We just don't know it. And we pray for it, and it doesn't happen. Another door opens that we haven't thought about it before, and sometimes we don't like it. But that's the door that we have to go through. A door opened for you, just not the one you wanted. Because our Creator knows better than us and is going to give us the opportunity that we have to grow. Our prayer was answered. It was answered. If we are sick and we pray for health, it will be answered. We are going to receive strength to fight that disease. Haroldo Dutra, once in a lecture, he said something that is very true. Every single people that was healed by Jesus died. All of them died. They're not here today. Not incarnated. Maybe they are on another body. All of them died. So the healing was a palliative. It was just, okay, I'm going to give you some time to breathe so you think on your actions that created the disease in the first place. So they prayed and they received. They got their breather. But we are spirits. We are not objects. We have our responsibility. Because one day, remember this, one day we will be in a position where we will answer someone's prayer. Someone will pray for help, and we will listen to that prayer and we will help. That's where we are going. That's the responsibility that we will have one day. To reach that point, we need to take our own responsibility for our lives. So if we pray, we'll always receive, according to the laws of God. The consequences will come because we need to learn. We need to learn, but we'll not be alone. The more we pray, the lighter the load is. So it's an action. If you are in distress, whatever it is, maybe the distress is not going to go away, but you're not going to be alone. You will feel strengthened. Your heart will fill up with hope, and you go through it. If you are not in distress, if you're just enjoying the day, you don't have to not pray. So you can, it's a even better chance to commune with the divine. Why not give thanks for the fact that you can walk, for the fact that we have a beautiful day, we have an atmosphere, we have a clear sky, we can see green trees. Why not give thanks, a prayer of gratitude for what we already have? We don't have to wait for things to be taken from us so that we can finally pray. No, pray because you're happy. And then you're going to connect to other spirits that are also grateful. And you feel satisfied. You feel your self-realization. Your conscience, your own conscience will take over your whole being. And you won't be able to explain to anybody why are you so happy. Because it's nothing material. It comes from your own nature, from inside of you, and for the divine communion that you are nurturing through prayer. Remember this. Thank you, guys. All right. So is there... come here.
Thank you, Rafael, for this reflection. It's always good to remember the power that prayer has, and I think we underappreciate in our day-to-day lives. Do we have any comments from here or online? Questions? Okay.
I love the perspective that you put on the that one day we're gonna answer prayers. It's like we tend to be selfish, and we just think about ourselves, and we ask for people to help us. But also we think that we are almost perfect, right? And therefore, because we are almost perfect, we should receive everything. It's a logic that it's all upside down, right? We are not perfect at all. We do have a lot of things to learn, but we have to aim to get better than yesterday. And we are reading this book, fantastic book named Violet's violets at the window.
On the window, yeah.
Yeah, on the window.
Patricia. Yeah.
Yeah, Patricia. And she's a good spirit. She did good things on the last life on Earth. And at some point, she starts studying and she starts helping others. And I think it's pretty much like a similar to a lot of similarities of Andrea Luiz. But the point is, sometimes she starts an umbrella and she starts helping people. And sometimes she just cannot get the person, the individual, intake to a better place, just because that person is not ready.
Mm-hmm.
So she had to understand when that person is ready to the next step. Otherwise, she has to keep there, still like receiving energy, receiving strength, receiving other things that's not the complete solution for her to the next step. So it's like it's very interesting. It's like I connect very well with what we are saying, because we, first of all, we tend to believe that it's like we are special. And everybody's special or nobody's special, doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody has to follow the laws of God. Thank you.
Yeah, so that this situation, we see so many books, and we learn here as well. Since we are developing to be spirits and to act as emissaries of God, that's where a pure spirit is. They don't have to. They are completely disconnected from the moral issues that brings us down. So they don't have that anymore. They are pure. So then they can finally start working, and the working is completely related to helping others. But since every single one of us is a spirit, we carry that responsibility with us. So if I'm in Umbral and I don't want to be helped, they are not going to just yank me off there. Unless, well, there are situations where they do that, but that's another lecture. But they're going to wait for me to mature. They're going to wait for me to mature. And that's why Joana de Angelis tells us about the habit of prayer. Let's start that here. Let's not wait until we are in a situation like that. Because when I pray, I open myself completely. So I'm saying, help me. Or thank you for giving me that. I understand that, it's not that I can do everything myself. I study by myself, I pay my own bills, so I don't have to pray to anybody. Who gave you the brain, the healthy brain that commands your body? Who gave you the legs that I always talk about legs because mine didn't work my whole life. But who gave you everything else? So there's so much that we just don't see it. We just don't see it. And by the habit of praying is that exercise of us trying to see further inside of us and around us, so that we can connect. And I'm sure I don't have to describe to you guys that makes us feel much better, makes us feel good, because you all know. If you are here, you know. So the more we do it, the easier life is. It's that simple. Yes.
For me, I started practicing the gratitude for me. And this is so powerful. My life, I started this in 2 years ago. And because my family is not many people that is religious in any aspect. So, but I say every day before we have dinner, let's have a minute of gratitude for today. And the more I exercise this, like this morning, in the morning, in the evening, to sit every day and have my breakfast quiet and choose. I can afford to go and buy what I like to eat. So many people that cannot afford to buy, or the people that had worked on the fields, that had, harvest the aliment for us. All this, when you start to think how important it is, right? So I'm so grateful that I practice the gratitude nowadays, because change your way to see things, the beauty.
That's why Joana de Angelis wrote a book entitled The Psychology of Gratitude. It's just about praying when things are okay.
Only this when you well, the example, we never should judge the other people rituals or with requests, because you don't know the way that they come from. And I think that's all connect, because talking about our choices, our things, that's what it is. We don't know why that person do that and how it make her feel. I had a student, I always remember when this talk about this, because when I met him, he usually smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day and have medicine for anxiety and things. And his own doctor said, no, you can't stop smoking because it will affect with the side effects that you have. And training, getting into healthy style, and he changed and he quit all that. Nowadays he's addicted to exercise. But he said, till this day, he's a musician, and he play his keyboard. He lit a cigarette and leave in the ashtray there, but he don't touch it. But if the cigarette's not there, he can play. It's a musician character. He say many times people criticize him, say, oh, it's stupid, why did you leave the cigarette there? And I said, I don't know from where he come from. Like, he quit a lot of cigarettes to leave that one there. So that is a good...
I always feel that, as I said here, the more we study and we understand ourselves, the less we judge other people, that we see our own weaknesses. And addiction, it's very hard. It's very hard. You can have 10 people that they go to a bar and they drink alcohol, or whatever, cocktail, and they go home, that's okay. And then you have one person that goes there, drinks the same cocktail, and something triggers. And says, this is my life now. Then they go home and they keep thinking on the next cocktail that they're going to have. And then they go and they have that cocktail, and then they think on the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And they get until they cannot leave anymore. And that happens in so many different ways. And we say, just stop drinking. It's not that simple. Same thing we can say to ourselves, why don't you stop gossiping? Why don't you stop screaming at people? I don't know. So many things that we can think. Just make silence, pray, and feel your own conscience. And that is deeply humbling. And that's why when we talk to, when Jesus was among us, we knew that we will not be judged. He was there to help. It didn't matter. Unconditional love. We would not be judged. That's why it felt so comfortable to say whatever we wanted. And we can only get there by understanding ourselves. So then instead of judging, we'll just help people.
You made an interesting point about having protocols of doing prayers. And the interesting is the gospel home. So it's kind of a tradition. Today you have the time that you're gonna connect, you do your readings, you do your prayers. And what I try to implement, I'd say this since the beginning of my home, is to have that specific time and that specific day. In the beginning was complaining like, oh my God, it's too late.
Yeah.
Like, can we do this early? Can you do this the day after? Like, no, that's the day. We can agree to change it and stick to that day, but not be changing every week. So now it's fun because I'm not the one calling anymore. That's time to come. The others are calling me. Okay, it's time to go. Right? I get the water. I get the book.
Mhm.
And then when we have guests and
Yeah.
come over, it's like, wow, we are doing the prayer. You are welcome to stay. This is our weekly meeting, and they understand. And they're open to attend if they don't want to. So, and they usually are not spirited, like they don't follow the same things, but they are always willing to be part of the readings. And they realize it's like, oh, but it's just a gospel reading. Like, yeah, what we'll be expecting. So it's kind of a good way of showing that tradition of praise, something you establish and you can have with your whole family and everybody will connect somehow. And at least it's the time in the week we're going to bring them together, our spirits, and help us to be there and help us to go through like our week, I'd say. So it's an interesting tradition that it's good to maintain, and I think brings good energy to our home.
And it feels good. It's the same thing in our house. And I keep in mind that at that time, since we are organized, it gives time to our family members to join us as well and pray with us, those who are no longer incarnated. So we are visited in our house. It's a good thing, and it becomes a tradition, a ceremony. You're not even thinking about it. Okay, take this book, you take that other book. Normally you sit in the same way, in the same place, don't even think about it, and you do the same thing. But so it's not bad. It's not bad at all. There's nothing wrong with that. Anything else, guys? So let's prepare for our pass then. Oh, turn on.
Thank you, everyone, to follow us online. We're going to go for our passes.